Hey guys, I'm Sean McAnally.
John Hall.
This is for the health of it. Guys, we are going to talk today about something that's probably the most important thing we can do, and that's support our cognitive function. Because without our brain functioning properly, everything else isn't going to work at all. You know, and one thing about that is, as we age, you can see people, start to forget things, and, they may have some form of dementia or something like that, and that's basically just from, what would you say, degradation of the mind or something like that.
Yep.
And the thing about it is there are things that we can do that will really help support our mind to become stronger and to just stay with us, if you will, while we're here, And Dr. Hall's got a list of things that we can do to help support that. And it's never too late. The best time to start is today, no matter what. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're 10 years old. If you do things that harm your brain versus support it, it's probably not too smart thing to do, is it?
That's right. And in fact, I don't remember the exact statistics. I read a long time ago. It starts early, very young. So, I mean, in your 20s, teens, 20s, I mean, things start going downhill. So it's true, you can't start too early. But even at an advanced age like mine, it's not too late to do something about it either. So there are lots of things that we can do that can help. And I have a list of things, like you said. I'm going to save what's basically considered the most important for the last, because I want to talk about it for a couple of minutes longer. But the first one is regular physical activity. And, I kind of lacking on that. I mean, I work out in the yard and I do this and that, and I try to get up and walk around, but still, all through the day, because I'm sitting at the computer, and after suddenly an hour and a half's gone by or whatever. But just moving around can really make a difference. And it helps promote blood flow to the brain. It helps chemicals that need to be released in the brain that help with the function of the neurons and their growth even. So just regular physical activity, it's going to be the same thing that's good for the brain, that's good for the body, just everything else. It's just that there's always the connection there. The second thing, and this one really hits me hard, because is getting adequate sleep, which I just don't do. I try, but you're supposed to get 8 to 9 hours of sleep. I don't remember ever getting 8 to 9 hours of sleep ever in my life, I guess when I was little. But if I get 6 hours a night, I'm doing really, really well. And I've always felt bad about that, because I'm sleeping a quarter of my life away. But the reality is we need that sleep to repair and recuperate and to grow and help the brain to recover too. And so getting adequate sleep. And so I'm going to try to work on that. It's just, but that's one of those things that's really important. So getting plenty of sleep. And they've done studies that show that getting adequate sleep does make a difference in cognitive function and attention and decision making and all that. So they have studies to show that. Mental stimulation is important. So reading, doing crossword puzzles or Sudoku, things that require thinking are important. Learning a new language or developing hobbies that you have to do some thinking.
Yeah, a lot of hobbies you have to use math, maybe to measure and figure out, I know a lot of people have hobbies in woodworking or
Absolutely.
Or metal building or, whatever that might be.
Yeah.
And that, definitely. I remember when I finally went to work, I finally got to see why I had to study math in school.
Yeah.
Because you do have to use it eventually.
It somehow it comes in handy.
It does.
All the time.
It does. Yeah.
So anyway, it's important, and it helps with what they call neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to adapt and to reorganize, and with certain connections and all that are important, that have to be there for the brain to work. Stress management is important. And so they talk about meditation. There are all kinds of studies you see all the time with meditation, prayer. Prayer is important anyway, but even people just praying, even if you're not praying to God, if you're praying, just that makes a difference. I believe in praying to God, and that's the
Yeah,
best,
I do
obviously.
too.
But
yeah. It
but
makes
anyway,
most sense anyway.
but meditation, that kind of thing, makes a difference, and
Yeah.
deep breathing exercises and things like that are important.
You know, it's funny you say that. I read a study recently. I don't mean to interrupt you, but the breathing part, and it makes sense because I know, like, when somebody's been deeply crying, you know, they like normally, like, when they're kind of finished, they calm down, they breathe in, they're gonna go like, like that, you know. And there's actually a breathing technique when you're stressed out. It's to breathe in as deep as you can, and then breathe a little bit more in. And that actually, it's been shown that it lowers your heart rate back down to normal and can lower your blood pressure and everything. And it only makes sense that you naturally do that when you're at your most stressed point, like when you're crying.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, that there's got to be a lot to that.
Yeah, it's just good for you, and it's good for your brain. So here's another one that's really applies to these days: social engagement.
Oh my goodness!
And,
yes. And you don't mean Instagram and Facebook social engagement.
No,
You mean being in the same room as
I
someone.
mean, that's exactly right. So I was getting ready to say, put the doggone cell phones down, kids,
Yes.
or even adults.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they know. We got plenty of data to know that that's bad.
Oh yeah.
You know,
for sure.
and they're just missing out. And now, in addition, now the stuff with COVID-19, shutting things down, people being barricaded in their homes, and not going to school. Now everybody understands what we all, or a lot of us, were saying. This is bad.
Oh, yes.
You can't do that to these kids, but they did. And anyway, there's a price to be paid. These kids are way behind.
Oh yeah.
And
Socially,
and every other
all
way.
kinds of cognitive.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because it's
Exactly.
it's important. We are social beings, and
Yeah.
we need that interaction. And so we just know that needs to be the way it is. That's the way we were made.
Probably good reason for recess and PE and going out to the park on Sunday and
Absolutely,
big reason
You know?
for that. Yeah, for
And
sure.
it's critical. So the next thing is the most important, because they say it all starts with this, but I saved it for that reason: nutrition, proper nutrition.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's like everything else with the body. We got to get the nutrients in us that the body needs. I mean, the old saying, "We are what we eat." Well, we are what we take in. We are what we eat, what we ingest. I mean, what we drink, what we breathe in, what we absorb through our skin. I mean, what else can we be when we're talking about our bodies except what we take in?
Yeah.
So it's critical to get the right things in us. The problem is with our modern diets, we're not getting very much. We're eating the wrong foods and not getting the right foods. And even the right foods that we're eating have a fraction of the nutrients they used to. The soils are depleted. The harvesting processes, the way they're packaged and all that, and then just cooking. So we're just getting a fraction. Even if we're eating the right foods, we're getting a fraction of what we need. So specifically, omega fatty acids are real important. Omega-3 especially, but the right proportion of omega-3 and omega-6 especially is really important. Both of them are important. Vitamins. And I tell you, we generally think in terms that we're getting enough vitamins, but the reality is the fat-soluble vitamins, A, D, E, and K, everybody is way low on those.
Oh, yeah,
and I mean,
sure.
studies have shown that almost everybody is way low on those.
And it's hard to build them back up sometimes.
Yeah, it takes,
I know, for instance, I had a blood test done, and my vitamin D levels were what they considered very low. And I mean, you can look at me, I'm a little tan. I obviously go out in the sun. And that's one of the only vitamins that our body can make.
Yeah.
So it's pretty important if, we're designed to make it ourselves.
Yeah.
But of course, it requires cholesterol and sunlight to do so. But I started taking a vitamin D3 supplement.
Right.
And the next blood test, and I was taking, larger than the recommended amount, and still it wasn't quite to that level even after a few months. So,
And we're just low on those. And D is really important for the immune system too, but it's important. D and E, two of the fat soluble ones, are important for cognitive function. Vitamin C, and so the water soluble, the B vitamins and C are really important too. And we tend to be a little bit low on all of these. Most people, and that we're not really depleted of them, but we're still tiny bit low even on those.
You
And
called that to me one day. You
They're-
mentioned that as
they're inadequacies. Yeah. So
Yeah,
they're-
not that it's below level, but it's
they're not
inadequate.
so low that you see the diseases that are associated with them just being way too low, but they're just not quite where they need to be for optimal health, and in this case, optimal brain function. And they're all important. But
Well, they
like
all
the-
kind of help you absorb each of them and stuff too.
Yeah, and the B vitamins are involved in developing some of the neurotransmitters and the chemicals that are important for function, all that. So they're all important. And then the foods, antioxidant and anti-inflammatories. And most of the good tasting foods aren't doing that, but the foods that are bitter, the foods that are really important to take and eat that we're generally not, are the ones that are loaded with these. And oxidative stress and chronic inflammation are involved in so many of all the chronic diseases, but also in brain function and all that, and the neurodegenerative diseases too. So getting plenty of antioxidants and anti-inflammatory foods and reducing the pro-oxidant and pro-inflammatory foods like the sugars and the refined flours and all that kind of stuff is really important. But getting the proper nutrition is critical for optimal brain function and cognitive function. And that's something that people need to be aware of. And the reality is the vast majority of us are not. So that's something that everybody needs to be aware of and needs to do something about.
Yeah, no, that's good, Dr. Hall. It's funny, I kind of laughed a while ago, but I didn't want to interrupt you. But when you said you are what you eat, I got to thinking, man, I've had an omelet every morning for breakfast for the past 2 weeks. I was thinking, I'm going to turn into an egg or something, but then I knew exactly what you meant. If you eat healthy, you're going to be healthy. If you eat unhealthy, you're going to be unhealthy. So it's very, very important to get all these nutrients that we can. And sadly, as depleted as things are, it's going to require supplements to get you up to the level you need to be at. I mean,
that's
just
the way it is.
That's just how it is. That's how it's going to be. Well, Dr. Hall, thank you so much
Well, sure.
for sharing today. It's been awesome. Guys, we hope that this has helped to improve your life. Again, I'm Sean McAnally,
John Hall.
and this is For the Health of It.